Mars flight is certainly a valuable objective. It's something that we could do with today's technology. It's very expensive to do with current technology. You might think that the time to go to Mars would be when it's close to us. And that seems logical, but the problem with that is the trajectories that take you to Mars when it's close to us arrive at Mars with very high velocities relative to Mars, so it requires a very large amount of propellant to slow down to catch Mars. The best time to go to Mars is when, the most fuel-efficient way is when it's on the opposite side of the sun from you. You arrive at a relatively slow velocity, and that voyage takes 7 to 8 months one way, and so that does require a lot of sandwiches. And the problem with that trajectory is that when you get there, Earth has moved and is no longer in the proper position for you to return. So you have to wait around for another couple of years before you take off to come back. Nevertheless, it is the closest thing to Earth that we know in the solar system, and the most likely place where humans could survive and prosper.
Actually, I also wanted to ask you, this trip to the moon made you a superstar. 12 people have been there, and actually we only remember your name because you were the first to step on the moon. So what would be, on a personal level, your advice to the astronaut who makes that first step on Mars?
Well, between now and that time, I hope that we'll solve a lot of the problems that exist going to Mars. One of the things that's difficult when you're flying around the Earth area or in the lunar area, you're protected from the radiation, both by the blockage that's provided by the planets, by the magnetic fields, the magnetospheres, and the atmospheres. But when you're going to Mars, the 7 or 8 months that you're traveling, you're outside those protective cocoons, and you're exposed to all the free radiation that exists out there, and it's not insignificant. Right now, we can't afford the luxury of making all our spacecraft out of thick lead to protect whoever's on the inside. So we need a lot of technology development to settle the radiation problem before we go there. What advice would I give him? Make sure you have a very good radio in case we don't get there with more sandwiches.
It has changed your life in a tremendous way. When I was talking to people, I told them that I was going to speak to you. People of my generation, I'm 46 years old, I haven't even seen you live on television, but still, it's a tremendous moment. Maybe I should ask the audience here, how many of you here have seen that mission live on television? So you were all old enough. Fingers down. It's more than half of it. How many haven't seen it and seen it later on tape? Oh. So you see, everybody has seen it. You had an audience at the time of, as I heard, 450 million people, and on total there were 3.6 billion people living on Earth. You probably had the biggest audience ever for an event. In the first leg of your trip, do you remember what your heartbeat was when you took off?
No, matter of fact, I don't know what it is right now. But
I read it was 109.
I would hope that it would be very high, because that would indicate that I was paying attention to what I was doing.
Because I read it was 109. I don't know if it's correct, because I thought that was very low for such a mission. How did you guys prepare for what you were doing? Because this was a risky trip. I mean, is it something, you were the first people to do this, were you afraid when you took off for what was lying ahead?
It is a risky business, that's true. But it's not so risky as other things we've done in our life. Those who have been test flying in very risky businesses, and those people who've been in combat flight, even more risky businesses. Tell me.
Well, actually, you told me before we were on stage that you did much more riskier flights than with the Apollo flight, test flying new planes.
Well, we tried to know every part of the flight as well as we could possibly know it and prepare as well as we could to minimize the risk. I thought, all the components of the spacecraft were usually built to a reliability number of 9.99996, which meant that you would have 4 failures in 10,000 hours of operation. And all those statistics and projections aside, my own feelings were that we had a 90% chance of getting back to Earth safely, but only a 50% chance of making a landing successfully on the first attempt. As I explained in my talk, that the landing descent was a very difficult part. There were a lot of unknowns, and I thought that our chances of our doing that successfully on the first attempt were not good.
So you took the steering wheel yourself. You didn't rely on the computer when you landed on the moon.
That's true. I did fly the landing myself, but six landings occurred successfully on the moon, and all 6 pilots decided they would rather land it themselves than let the autopilot try it. The autopilot doesn't know where the craters are, and it might stick its leg in a crater.
Yeah. One more question about your trip to the moon. Was there, did you know when you uttered that really famous line in the English language, that so many people were listening in, and did you think about it, what you were going to say, your first words on the moon?
I didn't think about it until after I got there. After all, if I only had a 50% chance of getting a successful landing, I didn't want to spend a lot of time doing things I might not even have to use.
And is it also true, because it's one small step for man, but a great leap for mankind, that there has been huge discussion about you leaving out the one big step for a man?
Well, I certainly didn't intend to mislead anyone, but I certainly intended to say A. I thought I saw A. Australian gentleman has demonstrated that the A is there. I don't know. It wasn't not, but if you put it in parentheses, I'll be happy.
Okay. Then about the trip to Mars. President Obama has said that this mission will probably occur in 2035. In the meantime, he cut back on the programs that could make it happen earlier this year. You were not very happy about that. What did you talk to him? Did you write him? Did you address your uncomfortable feelings about it?
Well, a number of us who were concerned about the quality of the plan going forward expressed our opinion in a variety of ways, through the media and through letters to the public and other communications to the administration, stating our concerns and our reasons, and then we went on to the legislature and Congress and testified to them and pointed out the problems that we thought. And as a result of all that work, there have been substantial changes to the plan made, and all in a favorable direction. And work's not over. I intend to continue trying to make it better in the years ahead. If I'm an engineer, I'm supposed to make it better.
Right. So how is it possible that you were explaining with this technology that you had in your days, and we are now so advanced, that there is no inspiration or no ambition to make this big trip to Mars? I mean, I'm very jealous about people living in your era, because you had this great adventure, and now it's all gone.
Well, I wouldn't agree with you that it's all gone. I find remarkable level of enthusiasm among young people to go and explore space, to Mars and other places, and I am confident that they will have those chances as they grow up and get to be my age. And I think more things unexpected will happen to them than things unexpected happen to me.
That's a good note to end this conversation on. Thank you very much.
Thank you.